Alvaro. That was his name, and I would have had the merchant if it wasn't for him. It is all Alvaro's faults. The merchant did exactly what we had hoped, exactly what I had planned. He got there not long after dawn, and we watched him from the corner for a few moments before pursuing. We trailed behind as he went to the other side of his cart. To say I was thrilled is an understatement. This was the rush that I was missing. This is what I needed again. If I only did it alone. I raised the pistol to the merchant's head. Alvaro went around and spoke to him, saying what I assume was for him to hand over the ring, except he requested for more. Alvaro wanted the whole buggy. I don't know why. He knew we were doing it just for the ring. The merchant argued with him. He wasn't going to give us anything willingly at this rate. Alvaro started shouting at me to shoot. I didn't want to shoot him. Why would I shoot him? I still needed him to tell me where he got that ring. That's the last thing I remember before waking up in a house, tied to a chair. The back of my head was throbbing, and I could feel the wound in my arm from the night that I lost Ruben reopening. The merchant stood with two other men. It took my eyes a moment to adjust, but I could make out one of them being Alvaro tied to what I think was a support beam. For a moment I thought they were speaking in English, but the only word I understood was ring. I tried to speak, but they had used the bandana that I was wearing to prohibit me. That knot irritated what I now know to be a gash caused by whatever struck me in the back of my head. I could understand the shapes that I was seeing, but the details were all fuzzy. One thing I could not mistake was the shape of a gun. The feeling of the cold metal pressed up against my chin. The merchant began asking me questions. I looked to Alvaro to translate, but he just shook his head. The man who was with the merchant grew irritated, knocking Alvaro out after his protests. The merchant repeated his question, but I couldn't understand him. I don't really know what he expected anyways. Even if I could understand him, I wouldn't be able to answer with the bandana in my mouth. So I just closed my eyes, ready for the end to take me. It couldn't be painful, right? Nice and quick. If I tuned the fat man out, I swear I could hear them calling my name. Everyone I loved. The ones waiting for me to join them. I could hear their voices like they were howling on the wind. And then he removed the gun from my chin. He spoke with his man for a moment, leaving me alone with Alvaro in the room. I muffled, trying to wake him back up, but he didn't move. I know what you're thinking. I'd expect myself to be crying too. But I wasn't. In a sick and twisted way. Having the gun to my chin almost felt hopeful. I felt more connected to Ruben than I have since I've lost him. I felt like he was there, waiting to catch my soul after it was flung from my body. My eyes started to focus on details not too long after. I'm not quite sure how much time went by while I was sitting there. It didn't feel like long, but I don't know how much of my day was clouded over by being knocked out and by daydreaming. I felt like I had just been shocked out of a dream when I heard the merchant speaking again from the other room. He spoke, then the man he was with. Then I heard a familiar voice. Wayne was with them, or confronting them. It was hard to tell if it was a conversation or an argument that was ensuing in the next room. It didn't take long for the merchant to walk him in. Wayne didn't look surprised, though I guess he would know why he was there by now, so why should he be? The merchant said something to him, pointing to Alvaro, then to the ring. He then motioned in what I can only assume had to do with his cart. And that's when Wayne shot me a quick but disappointed glance. I don't know why, but I began to laugh when I saw it. The merchant wasn't pleased. He unholstered his gun and waved it in front of my face again. He only got a few words in before I was covered in his blood. Wayne had taken the opportunity to slit the merchant's throat when he turned his back to him. He left the room for only a moment and returned in some blood himself. He cut my binds and stared at his old flat cap now on the ground. I removed the bandana from my mouth, but I didn't get a word in before he started. There was quite a bit of, "What the fuck were you thinking?" I didn't really know how to respond or where to begin. Wayne took his hat. Dusting it off and placing it in his back pocket, he motioned towards Alvaro, finally letting me speak. I told him that he was just trying to help me get the ring back, but Wayne wanted to know what the ring had to do with his wagon. I told him truthfully, I didn't know. I'm confused why he would be so angry over a cart of fruit. I tried to help Alvaro by saying he was just a foolish man who wanted to help me and probably wanted something for himself in the deal. It was evident that Wayne had stopped listening to me by that point, as he slapped Alvaro's face a couple times to wake him up, and specifically spoke to him in Spanish so that I couldn't understand. Alvaro seemed even more stressed speaking to Wayne than he did the guy who knocked him out. I tried to interject, told him I was the one who brought him into this. He really didn't know anything. But Wayne told me to shut it. I assume he got what he wanted from Alvaro, because when he did speak English again, he said something along the lines of picking his battles more carefully in the next one. And that's when he took Alvaro's life too. I watched his body slump yet again, and as it fell, Wayne told me that I did this. I gave him no reaction. Maybe the immense pain in my head stopped me from being angry in the moment. But looking back on it, that was pretty fucked.